Good morning, church. Today I thought I'd bring you kind of a message of hope. And I know I've been trying to do that over the past few weeks in various ways. We've been looking at prophets, we've been looking at just powerful people that God has placed in people's lives in the Bible to affect change. Because if you're living through this time, you're dealing with a lot of stuff that uh, really requires us to be agents of change and agents of light and hope. So this is a message of hope today. If you got your Bible, go ahead and turn to Psalm 1. Psalm 1. You're right. I'm not going past, I am going to go past Psalm 1, but I'm not going very far. I'm starting at the book of Psalms. Why am I starting with the book of Psalms, church? Well, the past week, I have been myself looking at Psalms. And I've been looking at about, doing maybe 5 Psalms a day. I haven't gotten nearly as far as I wanted to by the time the week got done, but it's helped me with a few things. Let me tell you kind of about where I am again. Wanted to touch base with you about this. So, um, as you know, as I talked about last week, teaching has taken a turn. And for a while, like I said last week, if you watched that message, I thought that this was kind of a turn for the worse. I enjoy connecting with students and seeing their progress and mentoring kids. And I felt like I couldn't do that anymore. I was stuck, here in my basement, and I had to be in a box. But God wanted to teach me something through that. He wanted to teach me that there's more to being a teacher than standing up and being, in charge of a classroom and in charge of a big crowd of kids. Sometimes you just have to sit and listen. And we talked about how Elijah, when he was wanting to experience the presence of God, and he wondered, God, where are you? My enemies are all around me. There's no believers left anywhere. Where are you, God? God took him right and he put him into a cliff face and he said, stay here while I pass by. And God brings thunder and he brings fire and he brings all of these amazing things. But at the end, it's the little quiet whisper that God is in, right? And so last week I reiterated that and I talked to you a little bit more about that, what that means for me. What it means for me is that I have to sit now and I have to listen. Where before I could proclaim and talk about things and get kids excited about history and various things that have happened in this world and get them to write about it. Oh, you're gonna do this and that and the other thing, and I had to look at sometimes, kids that have been at school all day and they're sitting there like this and they're going, oh goodness, Barrett, really? And I had to be the cheerleader, right? I had to be all amped up and fired up and Mountain Dew times 10. And now I have to sit and listen. I have to be more intrinsic and intuitive and less emotional. I have to um, connect with people in a different way and find purpose in that and find meaning in that. And it's really brought a lot of healing to me. It's recharged the batteries. It has gave me more time with my family, more time to do the things that I love to do with them. And honestly, I believe that God is doing this to a lot of professions, and a lot of people in the United States are having to sit back and listen finally without talking. But sometimes that need to listen, to be a listener, as Jesus was a listener, right, kind of gets lost in our modern society. But you know what? You can stand out from those people. So I want to talk to you today about what a Christian is and what a believer is. And you know what a believer is by now. If you've been watching, if you've been going to church, if you're a churched person, you know what a believer is, right? But a believer is not a proclaimer all the time necessarily. And what do I mean by that? Well, we'll talk about it in Psalm 1. So if you go to Psalm 1, let's just read Psalm 1 here. Now, the way I like to read Psalms is as a relaxing event, honestly. I read Psalms in order to get a little bit closer to my true north of who God is, to, where do I exactly need to go with my faith. And if I'm reading Psalms, I'm just listening. I'm not analyzing. I am not um, you know, sitting back and going, wow, that's a great story about this person that had this happen to them, and how can I directly apply that? Honestly, I read Psalms, and you don't have to do it this way. There's no rule book on how to read Psalms, but I read Psalms kind of passively. I listen when I read Psalms, and so as you might imagine with my topic today, uh, if you want to know how to listen as a person of faith, jump back into Psalms and just read. Read it like it's poetry. The Bible has a whole bunch of writings in it, but it's all inspired by people who thought that we needed to hear the good news of what God was doing in their life. And sometimes God just wants you to sit and listen to all of the amazing things that He is doing. And sometimes God just wants you to worship through that time. So if you haven't worshiped in a while, if you feel that that's kind of been a void in your life, Psalms is where you need to go. It's a collection of poetry by different authors in the Bible. And I want to start with you. Psalm 1. Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on His law day and night. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yield its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Not so are the wicked. They are like chaff that the wind blows away. Before the wicked will not stand in judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked leads to destruction. Now this was actually one of the first Psalms that I read. I didn't start with Psalm 1. I've been all over the place. I've been doing a Bible study that kind of goes through all the Psalms. And I've been going kind of fast. I've been kind of skipping over, or doing a bunch of days in a row and that kind of stuff. But something struck me about Psalm 1. When you look at Psalm 1, first of all, it just first of all reaffirms me that blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, who meditates on His law day and night. You meditate on God day and night. And that person, listen to this. This is so cool. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yield its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Isn't that cool? If you have not just sat back and absorbed Psalms and absorbed the promises God has for your life, if you are someone that follows the first part of Psalm 1, I encourage you to just do that. It will make your day. And it has made every one of my days this week. You can kind of tell I'm like beaming right now. I love Psalms. But I then, with the second part of that, I then kind of focused on the wicked part, because that's the part that normally we don't focus on, right? We go, yeah, don't be like them. Don't be like a wicked person. And we kind of dismiss the what am I trying to say? We kind of dismiss the metaphorical language that's going on there. Or similes, actually. It says they're like chaff that the wind blows away. Chaff that the wind blows away. So, if I'm getting this right, a wicked person, or in this case, a person that does not follow the first part of this, it's not a peaceful believer that sits tranquil before their God, and when God gives you a message, then you go. That kind of goes with God's thinking, with God's seasons, with God's timing. If you're not like that, then you sit on the topsoil of the earth, historically wise, so the history of mankind, and you're kind of just blown away. For a verse that describes believers like a tree that's constantly being watered, that's kind of harsh, isn't it? What does that mean in our modern day? Well, there's a lot of news going on right now. Obviously, there's always a lot of news going on, but especially right now, the one thing I've stopped watching the news, church. I hope you don't judge me for that. I know what's going on. I kind of see what's going on. We deal with it every day at school, but believer, I've stopped watching the news. To me, if I sink that much time into something like that, I almost view it like idolatry. And hear me out. kind of just disperse the wall you just put up there, because I know when I'm confronted with idolatry, my instinct is to push back on it. So I understand if you didn't take that very well. What I'm trying to say is, with me absorbing that much news day in and day out, hour by hour, and that's all that's filtering through my conscious, that takes the place of God. I'm not meditating on the delights that I have in the law of the Lord, and I'm not meditating on Him day and night. And then the chaff starts happening. If I get online, I'm writing comments, man. This is why, of course, I don't have a Facebook anymore. I don't have anything like that. I wanna be clear with you right here. This is a problem that I have. I used to see conflict online, and I used to just attack, right? I used to see people that differ from my beliefs, that differed from, they would see something on the news, or they'd read something, and they would take something politically from it. And I want to distance myself from that today, because it says, whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates. If this is what you know, if this is where you are, where your mind is, this is what matters, Christian. This is what matters, church. And I'm sorry I'm using these, I'm calling you Christian and church and that kind of thing. But church, this is where we need to be. If your delight is in God day in and day out, you will have peace. You will have peace. And your peace will speak louder than your online comments, than anything you can say person to person. You know who remembers an online comment? Who, I used to kind of dwell on them as I wrote them. This is years ago, of course. I used to type out these big, long things responding to someone else, and maybe it was someone criticizing Christians. I mean, I would view this as a righteous thing that I've got to go do, right? Yada, 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 and, and at the end, I'd say something, I'd throw some scripture at them or something like that, and I'd say, like, but God bless you, or something like that. And I was throwing the word at this person, like I was tearing out pages that I wanted from the Bible and crinkling them up. And, there you go. You need that, right? And that's not what they needed at all. In fact, I was using scripture out of context for my own benefit, and my heart was not in God at all. And you know who remembers those comments? Nobody. If they are remembered, I mean, first of all, if no one remembers them, they are swept away like chaff, right? The wind takes hold of that thing and boom, gone. But you know who does remember them? The person that knows me personally. The person that knows me from other societal things that I'm involved in and goes, man, that Jeff, he's bitter. That guy, he vindicates who I think a Christian is. I think a Christian is a bigoted person. I think that they're caught up in themselves, right? They have their own worldview, and if you do not belong to that worldview, oh boy, you're bitter like Jeff. That's who I was. I was bitter like that. And I'm so glad that I'm not anymore, but I want to encourage you, stop doing that. If that is you, stop doing that. You're vindicating that person on the other side. But who else is a Christian? So I digress here. I want to read you Psalm 2. That's right. I want to read you Psalm 2. Why do nations conspire? First of all, sorry, I paused again. When I read Psalms, I like to clear my mind of what I want to get from the Bible. Sometimes we come at the Bible too. Psalms helps us relax. If you want to get something from the Bible, it's constantly a lesson for you, that kind of thing. That's good. But if we approach the entire Bible from that lens, that can also cause some problems. So that's why Psalms is good for that too. So clear your mind for a second. Here we go, Psalm 2. Why do the nations conspire, and peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth rise up, and the rulers band together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their chains and throw off their shackles. The one enthroned in heaven laughs. The Lord scoffs at them. He rebukes them in his anger and terrifies them in his wrath, saying, I have installed my king on Zion, my holy mountain. I will proclaim the Lord's decree. He said to me, "You are my son. Today I have become your father. Ask me, and I will make the nations your inheritance, the ends of the earth your possession. You will break them with a rod of iron. You will dash them to pieces like pottery. Therefore, you kings, be wise, be warned, you rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and celebrate his rule with trembling. Kiss his son, or he will be angry, and your way will lead to your destruction, for his wrath can flare up in a moment. Blessed are all who take refuge in him." I was reminded, uh, now, background, I was reminded that although we are alone, our influence shows in ways we don't even know. This past week, our school decided to take up a challenge, and it was called the May Marathon Challenge. And all you have to do, and this is just to get kids moving, because we know that kids have been sitting in their houses and they've been doing the schoolwork, the homeschooling kind of stuff, but it can be a lot. It can be overwhelming, and so you may be seeing, if you're a parent, you may be seeing your kids sitting a lot more than usual, than you're used to, because that's kind of what we have to do right now. And so as teachers, and I don't want to take credit for this. This is not me. This was our PE teachers. They decided to host something called the May Marathon Challenge. And all you have to do is run 26.2 miles in a month. That's all you have to do, 26.2 miles in a month. So, of course, I jumped on this, and we made some videos and stuff, and we started calling out kids and saying, hey, such and such, why don't you come join us for the May Marathon? It was yesterday, and we all got online on Google Meet. Well, I was, a little ways out of town. I was on a run already, so I pull out my phone, I get on Google Meet, and I can't connect to the internet. So I go, man, I hope some people are doing this today. So I'm on my run. I keep going on my run and stuff. Beautiful day, gorgeous day, and I don't know what it was. I think it was just something about the day. But I just started thanking God, and it didn't come out as coherent sentences. If you've run before, your thinking gets interrupted by your own breathing, even if you're not, saying words. So I'm running along and I'm thinking, thank you, God. It's not coming out clearly. But I just started thanking him, thank you for that rock. God, thank you for that. Oh, it's a beautiful tree. Squirrel dashed across my path, scared the bejeezers out of me. Oh, thank you for that squirrel. God bless that squirrel. To someone, walking by, if I had been vocalizing all this stuff, they would have thought of me as some crazy person that has just lost their mind. But I was praising God, and it didn't matter. Nothing contextually mattered to me. It didn't have to be part of a bigger picture. I was enthralled with the fact that nations can rise up. Nations can shut down things, make you not do things in your society. Our society can shut down all the restaurants and the stores and everything that they want. And my God is still in control. And my God is in fear of the Lord to me in that moment was, wow, how big is my God, that all you people can make all the decisions you want, and you can talk all you want, and everybody in any sort of public facet that's in control of their organization, including my school, you can say whatever you want and do whatever you want. To God, it is like that. It is like a little tiny grain of sand to him. Out here in this beautiful morning in nature, nothing exists but the creation that my God made, and it is silent. It is silent. That was something to me. I get done with this run, and I'm at the top of Canby's Logging Road Bridge. It kind of surveys 99E, and I get back on. We were supposed to get on twice in this Google Meet, and I get back on. There's 60 people online, all running at the same time. Students, staff not even from our building, just all together. And our PE teacher, who's also a Christian, by the way, gets on and starts, calling people out and saying, hey, Chef, it's good to see you. Hey, such and such. And all of a sudden I was reminded that, the hierarchy of teacher, student, principal, whatever your position was, got stripped away. And for that moment, we were all humans and we were all running. As weird as that sounds, and as not scriptural as that sounds, to me, that also struck me of the beauty of the moment, the beauty of God, because this is a God that created all of us humans, not to just be cogs, but to be people that relate to other people. If you are right now struggling with that and you're feeling alone, it's because God made you to be in the company of other people, to spread. If God made us in his likeness, in his image, that also means that God seeks community with us. And who am I to deprive him of that? It just all made so much sense through the reading of Psalms that week. And I was reminded of Psalm 96. It says, "Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. Sing to the Lord, praise his name. Proclaim his salvation day after day. Declare his glory among the nations, his marvelous deeds among all people. For great is the Lord and most worthy of praise. He is to be feared above all gods. For all gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. Splendor and majesty are before him. Strength and glory are in his sanctuary. Ascribe to the Lord, all you families of nations. Ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. Ascribe to the Lord the glory due his name. Bring an offering and come into his courts. Worship the Lord in the splendor of his holiness. Tremble before him, all the earth. Say among the nations, the Lord reigns. The world is firmly established, it cannot be moved. He will judge the peoples with equity. Let the heavens rejoice, let the earth be glad, let the sea resound and all that is in it. Let the fields be jubilant and everything in them. Let all the trees in the forest sing for joy. Let all creation rejoice before the Lord, for he comes to judge the earth. He will judge the world in its righteousness, and the peoples in his faithfulness. If you're now, let me back up from this a little bit. This message is indeed a departure from where we've been going. Sometimes when, I've been talking about purpose pretty much every Sunday, and you've been going through this purpose-driven thing with Jeff for the past couple months. Sometimes I need a psalm break. Does your life need a psalm break? If your life, if you decide to take a psalm break this week and only read Psalms and only dive into the wonder and majesty of God and get back to your worship of the Creator, people are going to see it. It's going to leak out of you in an infectious way. And honestly, this is Americanism, or, not even Americanism, but it's, 21st century industrialized societyism. We look at that as not productive. Believe it or not, all that I'm reading you today, and maybe you're someone sitting here too thinking you would get more out of this video, and you're thinking, Jeff, that's not productive. It's not productive to sit and do nothing, right? Sometimes it is. In order to accomplish something, sometimes you have to rest. You have to take some time and reconnect with how God made your body, how God is blessing your life, to just see the things around you. Imagine the life of a child, if you're a parent, and you look back at pictures. Now, having Google in my life has been both a blessing and a curse, but Google has been reminding me throughout this year of when Jack was a little guy, and I keep looking at that and saying what every parent says, right? How fast that whole thing goes. He's walking around right now. He's running all over the place. When you see him again, you won't believe it. He's so big. And you'll say, wow, time has gone fast. And if it's something that we've observed, right, in human history, that babies grow up, why do we keep saying, wow, time goes fast? It's because we're lamenting it, church. But that's everything. Everything around you is constantly changing so much that it's hard to just sit back where you are in your house right now, look up around you. Maybe you're outside right now. Hopefully you're not driving. Maybe you're somewhere where God has given you something, which is everywhere, right? And me, I'm in my basement right now. I'm just thinking in my mind, God, thank you so much for this house, for this basement. Thank you for my family. And you're going to look, if you take a psalm break this week, you're going to look like a crazy person that doesn't have purpose in their life. People are going to look at you and go, what's wrong with you, right? Because it's not viewed as productive to take a psalm break and do this kind of thing. But I encourage you so much to do this. It has meant so much to me this week, and that's all I'm doing today. We end with a couple psalms. I was debating giving you more today just because I love so many of these, but we'll end with Psalm 100 and Psalm 101 here. Psalm 100 is arguably the most famous psalm. It's called a psalm for giving grateful praise. Shout for joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him with joyful songs. Know that the Lord is God. It is he who made us, and we are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving, and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name, for the Lord is good, and his love endures forever. His faithfulness continues through all generations. Before I read Psalm 101 to you, I want to also tell you what taking a psalm break this week has meant to my profession, too. I'm meeting with kids over Google Meet. That's how I now conduct business, and it's weird. Kids have been getting online with me during what's called office hours to kind of ask questions about their homework. But you know what's happening? They're not doing that. I mean, not to say that they're not communicating with me over Google Meet. That's happening. But you know what they do whenever they get online? Now, if they were in school, kids would constantly be coming up to me and going, hey, Mr. Barrett, I really need help on... And, then there's the sentence, right? You remember talking to your teachers. I need help on this. I don't understand this. You have a job. I have a job. Let's communicate, right? Now, this may seem unproductive to you, but to me, this is the most productive thing that's come of this whole thing. Kids are asking me how I'm doing. These are middle schoolers. Now, no, if you are a middle schooler currently watching this, I do not mean this in any bad way. This is how we develop as humans. In middle school, because so many things in your life are changing, you are continually inward, right? You're, for lack of a better term, self-absorbed. But God can use that. And what God has been using is that kids miss the teachers, weirdly enough. Kids miss us, and so I'm getting kids that actually are asking me the question, Mr. Barrett, how are you doing today? And they legitimately want to know the answer. It's not a formality. At school, kids will constantly go by me and say, hey, Mr. Barrett, how you doing? And just keep going, right? They don't wait for an answer. They're 3 steps down the hallway by the time I go, I'm doing great. And they're gone, right? But this has changed. So much of that. There's so much that God is doing through this. I'm able to now have human conversations because these are people that, like I said, God has created us to be in communion with others. And these are kids, but more importantly, these are people that need human contact. And I've been able to have meaningful conversations with my students. And this leads me to my final point. Church, if you take a psalm break this week, if you meditate on psalms all week, not only will it refresh and renew and rejuvenate your body and your spirit, you will feel so rested, but you know what that's going to make you do? Whenever you get involved with something that you say, wow, that's so amazing that I did this thing, it is human nature. And I think it's something that God placed within us. It's something that helps us spread his word, his message. It makes us want to share it with everybody else that we come in contact with. Because first of all, you want to tell people, right, I'm not crazy. You don't understand what this is meaning to my life. So if you take a psalm break, Christian, if you take a psalm break this week, share it with someone else. Get online. Use social media. I'm not saying social media is bad at all. I'm saying don't be chaff that gets wiped away, right? Spilling negativity and only to have it either be forgotten or to vindicate someone's knowledge of you as a believer. But instead of doing that, Christian, I want you this week, if you take a psalm break with me, I'm going to do another week. If you take a psalm break with me, share it with somebody else. Share a specific psalm with them. Text it to them. They have to read it then, right? Because what else are they going to do? They're sitting there, they get a text from you, and they know that you've taken some time to at least copy and paste something. What are they going to do? They're probably going to say, wow, that's good, or something like that. But then that opens up you to have that conversation with that person and say, this is what this psalm means to me. This is what this did for me. This is the reason why this helped me to worship again, or anything like that. Even if they're not a believer, the section of scriptures that I feel that non-believers resonate with the most is Psalms, because it's not trying to teach them, for the most part, anything. There's Psalms that lament stuff. David was being followed by Saul. There's Psalms that are dark. It all it resonates with the non-believer because it's poetry. It's beautiful. Without further ado, I want to read you Psalm 101. Arguably my favorite psalm. I will sing of your love and justice. To you, O Lord, I will sing praise. I will be careful to lead a blameless life. When will you come to me? I will conduct the affairs of my house with a blameless heart. I will not look with approval on anything that is vile. I hate what faithless people do. I will have no part in it. The perverse of heart shall be far from me. I will have nothing to do with what is evil. Whoever slanders their neighbor in secret, I will put to silence. Whoever has haughty eyes and a proud heart, I will not tolerate. My eyes will be on the faithful in the land, that they may dwell with me. The one whose walk is blameless will minister to me. No one who practices deceit will dwell in my house. No one who speaks falsely will stand in my presence. Every morning I will put to silence all the wicked in the land. I will cut off every evildoer from the city of the Lord. Now you're wondering, Jeff, why is this your favorite psalm? It's kind of violent, isn't it? Right? I will cut it off. I will not do this. To me, I looked to the section that's in verse 2. I will be careful to lead a blameless life. I will conduct the affairs of my house with a blameless heart. I will not look with approval on anything that is vile. If you take a psalm break with me, the world will see a new you, and I want you to share it. But I also want to vindicate that this psalm helps me reconnect with my true north, with who I am as a believer, with some firm foundations that I set for myself as a believer. I will conduct the affairs of my house with a blameless heart. There will be nothing. I will try to have nothing that is of blame take place in my heart as I conduct the affairs of my house. Me and my house. As for my house and I, we will serve the Lord. And that's what we're going to do. I pray that you will sorry, I'm stumbling over my words here. I pray that you will get so much from this psalm break that you take this week. Make sure to email me or something at my email that I shared with you last week. If you got that, that you're taking a psalm break and what that means to you. And then, if you don't do anything else, go ahead and text a friend a psalm this week. Copy it and paste it if you need to from Living Word or from your Bible app. It makes some really great graphics too that you can send to people. People love graphics. But take a psalm break with me. Reconnect with the rest that God wants for your life so that you too can have a quiet space with God this week. I pray that you'll be able to do that, and I will see you again next week. Blessings on your week, church. God bless you.